WNEG News Channel 32, CBS serving Northeast Georgia.
Super Bowl 33, the Northeast Georgia Connection, brought to you by Milton Martin Honda of Gainesville.
And just look for the opportunity to build this team and franchise for next season.
You just be patient. You know, the Lord said patience is a virtue.
Everything that you asked them to do, they did.
38-yard field goal by Morton Anderson. The hold, the kick, it's on the way, it's up, and it's good! The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl!
And with that kick, the Atlanta Falcons advance to their first ever Super Bowl. What an unforgettable year it has been for the Falcons. Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Super Bowl 33, the Northeast Georgia Connection. I'm John Hart. In the next half hour, we'll take a look at Falcon players past and present from Northeast Georgia, and we'll hear their thoughts on this miracle season. Also, we'll talk to players from area high schools who'll be on the field for the big game on Sunday. All of that and more coming up in just a few minutes. But first, one of the major reasons for the Falcons' quick turnaround is Athens native Chuck Smith and the play of that Dirty Bird defense. Well, Chuck learned his trade here in Northeast Georgia at Clark Central High School under the watchful eye of legendary coach Billy Henderson. In addition, Bronco wideout Willie Green is also a product of Henderson's expertise. We recently had a chance to sit down and talk with possibly the only high school coach in the country with two players in this year's Super Bowl. Whether you're a running back or a quarterback, Falcons defensive end and Athens native Chuck Smith is not the person you want to run into on a football field. A distinction his high school coach Billy Henderson saw early on.
There's no doubt about his intensity ever. I mean, even as a ninth grader at Clark Central, football was a big part of his life, and he dedicated himself the entire year round on the track and in the weight room to improve his skills.
Including Chuck Smith, Coach Henderson has two former players and one former assistant coach that will be in Super Bowl 33. But he's reluctant to take credit for their success.
Actually, I can't say they're a product of me. I'd say that they're a product, first of all, the parents who did a great job with them, and of course Clark Central High School. But yes, we do have three young men whom we're very proud of, just like all the youngsters we worked with for 45 years in the coaching profession. We're very proud of them.
But despite Henderson's modesty, Chuck Smith knows where he learned his trade.
I think what prepared me for the NFL, Billy Henderson, was the physicalness of the practice and things like being accountable, being early for practice. He'd always tell you always be there 15 minutes early. He taught me, you know, to be hard-nosed, be physical, and that there are all the things that you do on this level. I'm serious. He taught me.
You best know exactly what you're going to do on that field every minute. Every minute was planned. Right now, I'll see one of my former players and we'll meet for lunch. And if I say 12, that means quarter to 12, and they are there. And that's a very important thing. Is we all have the same amount of time, but some of us use it better than others, and we're going to use it better than others.
And thanks to influences like Billy Henderson, Chuck Smith has spent his time leading the Atlanta Falcons to their first ever Super Bowl. But Coach has a player on each sideline in this game, so who will he root for?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. In fact, another dear friend of mine in the newspaper business asked me, the Falcons. And I want Willie to catch some passes, yeah. And I want Frank Bush to do a good job of coaching those linebackers. But in the final analysis, we're from Georgia. We want the Falcons to win.
And that's a sentiment that Chuck is more than happy to echo.
I've been a big-time winner from high school to junior college to Tennessee. And I went through a slump here. I guess up until the Braves won it, the city was, starving for, success. And now the city got all kind of success. Evander, us, the Braves, the Hawks are, contender. All the college teams win, so this is like Wintersville now. People are just ecstatic,
Well, they certainly are. Well, coming up, we'll hear from Northeast Georgia's candidate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But first, the big question is, who's going to win on Sunday? Throughout the show, we'll be finding out what Northeast Georgia has to say.
think the Falcons are going to do it, definitely.
Why?
Jamal Anderson is pretty hard to stop. I think they've also, Chandler's really stepping up these last few weeks. Big play guy.
The players that, you know, they have some local players that we're interested in following, Chuck Smith and some of those guys. I think that the chemistry they have, I think they have to stand a chance of beating Denver.
Well, early Saturday morning, while most of us are still in bed, Toccoa's Billy Shaw will be on pins and needles, awaiting the phone call that lets him know whether or not he's joined football's most exclusive fraternity, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As part of Super Bowl weekend, the votes will be cast Saturday morning, and as one of the finalists, the former Buffalo Bill will be on that ballot. I recently had a chance to sit down and talk with Billy about his career and the big weekend ahead. Back in the days of the old AFL, Billy Shaw was a major part of Buffalo Bills football. So much so that in 1994, he was inducted into the Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. His memories of those days are as vivid as yesterday.
You know, you talk about experiences. It was an experience just being a part of the AFL, which became part of National Football League history. The chance to play in championship games and, you know, be in the spotlight. And we had some good teams, 64, 65, 66. We got beaten 63. So about a four-year period there, we had a real run. And you asked for our most memorable moment or experience. It had to be that championship game going to that first Super Bowl. We had won the AFL in 64 and 65, beating San Diego both times. And in 66, we played Kansas City for the championship in Buffalo. And we watched Green Bay film. That was a no-no. Make a long story short, they beat the hound out of us. They beat us like 31-7 and went to the first Super Bowl.
What are your thoughts on representing this area, possibly going into the Hall of Fame, being the first Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket and first guy from Stevens County?
It's fun having the opportunity, possibly, to be the only person in this area to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, that would be fun. But people that know me, you know, that won't go to my head, and then I'll still be the same old guy. So.
These days, Billy works with the concrete company that he founded after football, but his ties to the game remain strong.
I go back every year in August, late August, early September, for a reunion. We have a golf tournament, go to the ball game. We've been doing that, John, I guess, for 25 years.
Billy will find out on Saturday if he's made the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Until then, nothing to do but wait and hope.
You know, I am really struggling with this thing, and I thought I was stronger than this, that I could take it and put it aside. So, but every now and then, I say every now and then, that's not true, a lot of my time, particularly traveling, you know, as much as I do, and nothing but the road there in front of me in between stops, and I let my mind wander, what if, and I stopped that.
One last. Well, we certainly wish Billy all the luck in the world. Meanwhile, another local son has already had his big night, and he may have had something to do with the Falcons' run to the Super Bowl in an indirect sort of way. You see, the Falcons credit a win over the Carolina Panthers on opening Sunday with jump-starting their Super Bowl season, and a member of that Panther team is former Stevens County Indian Leonard Wheeler. Well, last Friday night, Wheeler was honored by the Indians as they retired his number 23. Our Scott Hartman was there.
Former Stevens County football standout Leonard Wheeler used to dream of the day when he might return to his hometown to be recognized. Now a successful NFL career has helped his dream come true. On January 22nd, Wheeler received a hero's welcome on the reservation as the current Carolina Panther returned to see his jersey number 23 retired.
Man, this is such an emotional time for me. It's just a blessing for me to have this done, you know, and it's a childhood dream, really, that really became reality for me tonight, man. Just to think that my jersey is going to hang up here forever. and it's just an honor that I really can't even express, man.
Wheeler was joined by his family and former Stevens County head coach Rodney Walker for the ceremony at the place where the journey to the NFL began.
I won't ever forget the first time I've ever met him and watched him in the weight room, and he had one goal, and that was to play professional football, and through his hard work and determination, he made it.
Well, you know, when I was in the 12th grade, I told Coach Walker, he asked me what was one of my goals. I said, Coach, I want to play pro ball one day. And I just made that a goal for me. And, you know, it wasn't an easy goal to obtain. I mean, I really took the long road to get there, but it came through, and here I am today.
And who will Leonard be pulling for in Sunday's Super Bowl? The answer is not much of a surprise.
I want the Dirty Birds to win. I really want them to win, but I'm going to watch the game at home with my wife.
Well, a great night on the reservation. Well, coming up next, we'll head to the other sideline and talk to some local players on the Denver side of things. But first, here's Billy Shaw's take on Dan Reeves and the Falcons' chances.
His character just ran over into that team, and they meshed. I think that's the best word that you can say. They have a super chance of winning this football game.
Well, earlier in the show, we talked about Falcon defensive end Chuck Smith out of Athens. But the Broncos have a few players from the area as well. We mentioned receiver Willie Green, but there's also all-pro left tackle Tony Jones out of Franklin County High School and former Georgia Bulldog Terrell Davis. Tony Jones is now an all-pro left tackle for the Denver Broncos, charged with the responsibility of protecting quarterback John Elway's blind side. But before the Super Bowl ring, the years with the Cleveland Browns, and his career at Western Carolina University, Jones was a Franklin County Lion. Now he has his sights set on a second Super Bowl ring. Jones doesn't talk to the media during the season, preferring instead to let his play speak for him. But in March, when the Lions retired his number 82, Jones was more than happy to talk about what he learned at Franklin County.
To work hard at everything you do, and to work hard and set goals and try to just reach those goals. I think today kids need to try to find themselves. They come from bad families, had tough times in their life, but they can make it. They just believe in themselves.
And then there's league MVP Terrell Davis, the only running back in NFL history to rush for 2,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. But before the superstardom, Terrell was a backup running back for the Georgia Bulldogs. Last spring, Terrell returned to Athens to be honored at the annual G-Day game and says he has nothing but fond memories of the Classic City.
I've had a good time at Georgia. I would do it again. If I had to do it again, I'd go back to Georgia. I mean, I love the school. I love the people there. So I love the city. You know, I had a good time at Georgia.
All right, so you think you're ready for the Super Bowl. You got your hats, you got your pennants, your big screen TVs, everything you need to enjoy the big game. Well, Scott Hartman tells us the Falcons' flight to Miami has meant big business for merchants back here in Northeast Georgia.
It's a sound normally associated with December instead of January, but with the Falcons' success this season, the sound of cash registers racking up sales at Northeast Georgia retail stores has become commonplace. Consumers are snatching up anything they can to give them a piece of the Falcons' miraculous journey to Super Bowl 33, and the Falcons' frenzy isn't just limited to Georgians.
Got a pennant from the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm taking it back with me to Seattle, where there's a lot of Bronco fans, and just had to show my support for the team.
Are you getting a lot of jeers from them?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm excited to bring the spirit back to the West Coast.
Though the demand for Dirty Bird items like T-shirts, jerseys, and caps has been building all season long, store workers agree the push for Falcons apparel exploded once the team defeated Minnesota for the NFC Championship.
I was at home that day and I'd already gotten phone calls from my staff here that people, as soon as it was over with, were coming in asking when the hats were going to be here, when were the T-shirts going to be here, and what all were we going to have. So, you know, we had to start dealing with it probably 10 minutes right after the game. So.
Yes, in the last week or so, we've had a lot. The calls on Monday morning started coming in, and of course everybody wanted to get them wherever they could get them first, and so we got T-shirts and caps here, and we've been selling them all week, and I think everybody's excited about the Falcons winning.
For many stores, the pressure to keep Falcons merchandise in stock has meant multiple deliveries per day, but the sales are helping Northeast Georgia stores to rake in plenty of green.
I can honestly say probably for every store within a few, a good many miles of Atlanta, that it's been a big boost for them. Like I said, we've had heavier traffic in January than we've ever had right now, so it's been a big boost for us.
I definitely think that winning always helps the economy.
And what happens if the Falcons win the Super Bowl? That's a scenario for which retail managers are now preparing.
If they win the Super Bowl, we'll get as much merchandise in as quick as we can get it in here, because I think everybody will really jump on the bandwagon.
And once you've got all your Falcons gear, you have to find a television to watch the big game. Some local television dealers are doing their part to meet the increased demand for big screen TV rentals for Sunday's game.
Everybody's excited. We've had quite a few people calling in, coming in, interested in getting a big screen, mostly on a rental basis. They just want to rent it for the weekend, for the big game. But I have several people coming in asking 27-inch. They want to watch it on a nice TV. It's a much bigger than Super Bowls have passed. And
just because of the Falcons?
Because of the Falcons, yeah.
For groups interested in renting a unit, the price of the rental depends on the size of the TV.
Normally, it depends on whether or not the unit is pre-leased. That would be the only unit that I would be able to do on a weekend rental, and normally that runs $50 or $60.
So if you don't already have your favorite Falcons t-shirt or hat or a television to gather around, you better hurry. Time's running out.
All right, thanks, Scott. We'll be back to talk to some former Falcons from around the area. But first, let's get back to the mall for some more predictions.
I think it's going to be real close. I think it's probably going to be something like 30-27.
It's going to be close if it happens for the Falcons. Unfortunately, I'm having to say it might be.
That was close last week.
John Hart back with you, taking a look at the Northeast Georgia connection to the Falcons' historic 1998 Super Bowl season. For former Falcons, this season has meant redemption for the many lean years endured by the franchise. I recently talked with a couple of ex-Falcons who live right here in Northeast Georgia. After what seemed like endless years of Falcon futility, the current team's run of success is a point of pride for those who laid the foundation. Tom Pridemore played defensive back for the Birds in the early 1980s and now lives in Gainesville.
My career, I played 8 years with the Falcons, and during that time we were fortunate to go to the playoffs on three occasions. And up until now, we had some of the bright spots. There's some of the better years that the Falcons had, but certainly, they've taken it a step further this year.
Former kicker Mick Luckhurst agrees. Now a Buford businessman, Luckhurst saw his share of lean years with the Falcons.
There were some great fond memories, and it's funny how life has its funny turns, and you do tend to remember all the wonderful things, and I have nothing but wonderful things to remember. And going to Minnesota and seeing the Falcons beat Minnesota to go to the playoffs was just, to go to the Super Bowl, was just this incredible euphoric feeling. And to be as far away from it as I am now, as an ex-Falcon, the pride that I felt, I could only imagine what was going on down in the locker room.
As the Falcons' former kicker, Luckhurst had a unique perspective on what is commonly known now as the kick, Morton Anderson's 38-yard field goal to upset the Vikings.
I honestly felt that when he ran out in the field, he was going to make that kick. And I know he did. I've talked to him about it. And it really was funny because it's not I wasn't vicariously living it through them. It was their moment, and it was wonderful. But I was just laughing because just the opportunity, the fun of it, and to feel as a fan that I was actually enjoying. This was the first year that was really fun as a fan.
The reason for that fun is obvious. The best season in franchise history. And both former Birds point to the same reason for the turnaround.
It's hard to find a weakness on that team. And from my standpoint, I think for the first time, we've not had that feeling of, are they going to find a way to lose? They seem to be, as in 1980, finding a way to win.
Because I think what Dan Reeves has done, he's changed the mentality of the Falcons and the history of the Falcons. And I hope no one takes umbrage to this statement, but I think we used to find ways to lose. We were good enough to win, but we didn't think almost in our heart of hearts that we deserved to win. Well, that's, I think, what Dan Reeves has started to instill, and what he's instilling is that we should win. We deserve to win because we've worked hard to win.
Although both players have been retired for over a decade, they too are reaping the benefits of the Falcons' newfound success.
But there's a whole new approach to how people are coming to me. It's as if I played yesterday. People are now coming up to me and it's like I'm playing. It's like you're one of the Falcons, and it's fun, it's neat. You know, I never apologized for being a Falcon. I never felt, you know, well, we didn't win, we didn't do this, but heck, the team goes to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I certainly feel some pride there, but the wonderful thing of that is the approach of everyone else.
You know, I've got some season tickets, and there seemed to be a market for those. You know, it's amazing how many people, you know, start looking for tickets as the Falcons, you know, become winners.
And as for their Super Bowl picks, well, that's not much of a surprise.
Well, I think it's the Atlanta Falcons' year. I mean, I really believe that, and you know, these guys have been an underdog all season. I think they're comfortable in that role, and certainly I think there's the team has some incentive against Denver.
I really believe that the Atlanta players are going to go away with a win, and that means that Atlanta should leave the Super Bowl with a win. And
well, we certainly hope so. Thanks so much for sharing part of your evening with us here as we pay tribute to some of the local folks who made this memorable season possible. We leave you now with some of the sights and sounds that made 1998 a truly super season. Go Falcons, and good night, everybody.
Super Bowl 33, the Northeast Georgia Connection, brought to you by Milton Martin Honda of Gainesville.
WNEG News Channel 32, CBS serving Northeast Georgia.